Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8, read to you by myself, Natalie Tole, alongside Nema Klabiso Ngambule. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says schools are currently closed in the country, as announced by the Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini. Therefore, pupils are not expected to be in school on Wednesday. The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says before the end of the week, they will announce the Reconstruction Fund guidelines and how business people and all those affected can have access to the fund. The IGCSE external exams are progressing well, despite some interruptions. And now the news in detail. The Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini, reminds Eswatini that schools remain closed. The Prime Minister says government took this decision to protect pupils against violence. Dlamini says only pupils that are sitting for international exams will be allowed in schools.
In a press statement by the Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini states that government would like to remind the nation that schools are currently closed, and that only students sitting for their international examinations are allowed to attend school. The Prime Minister says this decision was taken in the best interest of the child in the midst of violence, threats and intimidation against children and teachers, as well as vandalism in some schools, which placed the lives of children at risk. Dlamini says any other information to the contrary is misleading children and placing their lives in the line of danger. Dlamini urged people to desist from making children their pawn. Dlamini says any person peddling misleading statements against children and schools will face consequences. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Babane.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says schools are currently closed in the country, as announced by Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini. Therefore, pupils are not expected to be in school on Wednesday, as announced on social media networks, except for those who are writing their external examination. The minister was speaking during a press conference held at the ministry's offices in Babane.
Speaking during the press conference held on Tuesday, the Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, said the ministry has noted with concern information circulating on social media networks that says students are expected to go to school on Wednesday and join certain marches. The minister says all schools are closed as announced by the Prime Minister. Therefore, pupils will not be going to school except those writing their exams.
The Ministry would like to remind all students and parents that schools are closed as announced by the Prime Minister. No children will be going to school except those writing their exams. Only government will announce when schools will open after careful consideration of the circumstances that led to their closure. I would also like to warn students to desist from participating in the marches we have been witnessing lately because it is dangerous.
The minister encouraged parents to play their oversight role and ensure the safety of their children at all times. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Siwekoza with Muslim Konta, Babane.
The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says before the end of the week, they will announce the Reconstruction Fund guidelines and how business people and all those who are affected during the unrest can have access to the fund. This includes the committee responsible for the fund.
Following the launch of the Reconstruction Fund by His Majesty the King, the Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says before the end of this week, the ministry will provide updates on guidelines of the fund and how businesses, as well as the Maswati and all those who are affected, can apply and have access to the fund.
The guidelines for the Reconstruction Fund that will be administered by the Eswatini Bank, and we will also be announcing the committee that will be managing those applications and ensuring that the making process is as fair and as transparent as possible. We don't have a date as yet, but we will let the media know, but I can assure you that it will definitely be before the end of this week, and thereafter then Eswatini Bank will start administering the reconstruction.
The minister says they will alert the press, who will in turn tell the nation on the guidelines to follow. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kian MCB, Mbabane.
The IGCSE external exams are progressing well despite some interruptions. The Registrar of the Exams Council, Dr. Edmund Mazibuko, says learners who will not sit for the ongoing exams have already missed the exams for the current academic year.
The external IGCSE exams are currently progressing very well to some learners who are in class. According to the Registrar of the Exams Council of Eswatini, Dr. Edmund Mazibuko, some learners do not attend all exams due to some reasons, while some learners interrupt those who are currently sitting for their exams, but there haven't been any major disturbances so far.
I can confirm that the IGCSE examinations started early in October, and we are getting reports from schools that the exams are progressing well, though in some cases there are reports that not all candidates, come to sit for the various papers. Now we have requested schools to give us detailed reports on the conduct of the exams in the respective schools. These reports are then communicated to Cambridge Assessment. The IGCSE exams are Cambridge examinations, so we don't have full control of making decisions on what to do when there are problems in the schools. We report these to Cambridge, and Cambridge.
Dr. Mazibuko says, unfortunately for those who are not in class, they've already missed their exams. He says they ask schools to provide updates on the exams, and they will also provide the Cambridge assessment. The exams will continue until the end of November. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kian MCB, Ezulwini.
The Council of Eswatini Churches chairperson Peggy Makongo has called upon churches to assist within the country to assist the Maswati who have been affected by the civil unrest. Makongo says the council will continue to pray for a long-lasting solution. Makongo was speaking in Manzini during a press conference.
Following the civil unrest that erupted in the country, the Council of Eswatini Churches has urged Emaswati to remain calm. The council's chairperson Pegindlela Makongo says churches should provide some form of support to those affected by the unrest.
Let's allow God to make us a gift to each other, as through each other we can find our authenticity, fulfillment, and develop together as a nation. God is not happy with what is happening in our country. Let us rebuild through dialogue. The Council of Southern Churches continues to pray to the national crisis that we are going through. We also pray for those who have been directly affected, the bereaved families, the injured, and those who lost jobs during this time, and request churches that are closer to them to offer support in any way they can. We are committed to working with all stakeholders, sectors of society, and the government in finding a negotiated settlement and solutions to the challenges of our country. At the same time, whilst appreciating the right to peaceful protest, we condemn the use of abusive language and vulgar language by some protesters. Protests must be done peacefully and with respect for the next person's dignity. The need for meaningful engagement cannot be overemphasized, and dialogue cannot be postponed any further. The Council of Southern Churches believes that whenever there are differences of opinion and conflicts between people, the only way to resolve them is through dialogue.
Makongo emphasized that the council will continue to pray for a long-lasting solution. For Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni with Vumi Nkosinzenisa in Manzini.
The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Pindile Vilagati, warns members of the public against intentionally spilling oil on public roads. This follows alleged oil spillage threats by unknown people on social media.
Social media was abuzz on Monday morning with messages of certain unknown people threatening to have spilled oil on the country's roads to make it inaccessible, especially for people who may be traveling to work or other places for various reasons. The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Pindile Vilagati, says they have seen the messages as well and paid a visit to the mentioned areas and find that there was none such, but further warned against such an act as it is a criminal act and one could be apprehended for disturbing public movement.
So lokumile kulicala kusabisa umuntu noma ngabe ngayiphi indlela. Phindze futhi letintfo lebetibalwa la kutsi kutawutselwa bo-oil batawushaywa la batawubonakala emgwacweni nako asisho lokuthi nakungahle kwenteke vele kulicala. Singemaphoyisa-ke nakwendekile samkhandza umuntu amthela oil noma-ke ashayela abanye bantfu sitawuvele sende loko lokufanele kakhulu kati sisho loko ukuthi lokucabanga kwenta tintfo letinjengaleti vele usuke sowenta lecala noma-ke na ungahle ukwente utawube vele sowente licala lekutama kubulala lekulicala lelikhulu kakhulu. Siyasicela-ke sive senkhosi nekuthi siyafisa kubambisana naso kuto tonkhe tintfo singemaphoyisa ukuthi asiyekele kuthreatenisha sive, asiphindze futhi siyekele kwenta tintfo letikucala njengalama-blockages emgwacweni. Labo-ke labatawutfolakala vele bakwenta lokhu batabe baphambene nawo umtsetfo. Nekugcina ngako nje msakati kusicela sive ukuthi singemaphoyisa sikhonela wonke umuntu. Sikhona for labo labente kucala, sikhona for labo labangenti lutho. Asinayo-ke inhloso yekulwa naso sive njalo nasiphuma sisuke siphumela kona kusivikela sive. Asisibambise singemaphoyisa. Kukhona la utawuthi uyasidzinga khona ukhandze ukuthi asakhona kufinyelela kuleyo ndzawo ngenxa yaleto timo letiba khona emigwacweni kugcine konakala kakhulu kufa abantu.
She says oil spillage could have a negative impact because even first aid and ambulances as well as police officers can hardly have access whenever such services are required or needed in the various parts of the country. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kiani Msibi with Sontomlangeni, Mbabane.
To boost the country's vaccination exercise, the Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture will incentivize vaccinated Maswati by granting them free entry at certain events. This has been said by the Chief Executive Officer of Arts and Culture, Stanley Dlamini.
Following an announcement by Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini on relaxing some of the COVID-19 regulations, which included permitting entertainment events, the Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture held a meeting with local event organizers. Chief Executive Officer at Arts and Culture, Stanley Dlamini, says to contribute to the country's vaccination exercise, the meeting concluded that a certain number of vaccinated Maswati will have a free entry at certain events.
Ema-events lesiwasukumisako nyalo kulamalanga atsi mhlambe bantu labang-50 labatawungena kulabetak event batawungena mahala nabajovile lokusho ukuthi ngilamanye amaplan lesinawo ukuthi nasicala nje ama-events ethu sithi first 50 labajovile batongena mahala. Sibukele etinye inhlelo ukuthi-ke laba labajovile futhi singetesendayini ngokuthi amathikithi abashiphele bona kunalaba labangajovi. Bese ukuthi-ke siphindze sifuna kubambisana nelitiko ikakhulukati letempilo ekutheni kulama-events ethu kungete kwenteka yini ukuthi bakanekise bajove eMaswati nakade ungena ngoba cabanga nje sowujovile sowuyangena khona la futhi kungena mahala. Silitiko kuphindze sidabe sibukisana ukuthi singete sathatha yini ema-events esiwamikisa kuma-regions lapho khona sitawuchubeka sibambisane nelitiko letempilo bajove bona eMaswati angene ngekhathi. Sithi nje le speed sekungena ngekhathi ikakhulukathi sebantu labang-50 kuyasisita lo ukuthi one ema-events ethu kube ngilaphephile, two kuyasita ukuthi ema-events ethu kube neMaswati laphephile.
Dlamini says those who wish to host an event can call the office and wanted a permit. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samka Suekoza with Fuminko Sensenisa Manzini.
Women and girls who are survivors of gender-based violence in Eswatini will now be empowered with leadership skills, among other skills, by the newly formed organization called Journey of Hope. According to the organization's founder, Jago, the organization will provide awareness, raising and creating a safe space for the survivors.
Following the growing need in Eswatini for victims of gender-based violence, an organization has been formed to try and provide networking spaces for victims in Eswatini. According to the Journey of Hope's founder, Jago, the survivors will be provided with awareness material that will bring hope. Jago says the victims will be provided with a safe space or environment of engagement for the survivors. Tlachwago further stated that victims will also be able to network.
Siqale ke initiative ekuthiwa i-Journey of Hope for Women and Girls noma kuniketa lithemba kubomake nebantwana labangamantombazane eSwatini. Le lapho sitocecesha khona bomake nabobabe labatinda emangweni labatawuvula iminyango yabo ukuthi loyo lohlukubetekile angene akhone ukuthola lisito akhone ukuthola i-counseling khona le lapho akhona khona. Sikubonile ke ukuthi etigabeni letinengi umuntu ukhanze ukuthi uyadzinga uyareporta mhlambe ehlombele ekukhalela liyathatha limikise engcenye thina lapha sifuna kwenda indlela yekutheni lemangweni akhona ukuthi athole labo bantu labatawumsida siphinde futhi kule Journey of Hope for Women and Girls sitawonda indlela tekuthi laba lasebahlukubetekile ke bona bathole iplatform lapho live labo litawuvakala khona baphindze bakhone ekutheni bachamuke netindlela ukuthi aphindze atithole angumuntu lohlukubetekile ukuthi naye usengumuntu usenalo likusasa sitabe sivula ke ama platforms lapho batawuthekelana lwati lapho batawushiyela naligwayi nalapho kutawufika nalabanye abantu ngaphandle babaphe lwati.
Tlachwago says in future they are working on training women and girls on leadership and economic empowerment skills. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Enactors team is among the top 16 of the Enactors World Cup qualifiers. According to Enactors Eswatini director Wonderboy Khumalo, the Ngwane College student project is to produce mosquito antiseptic that is produced out of oil extracted from invasive plant species.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is represented by Ngwane Teachers College in the Enactors World Cup 2021. The final competitions are qualified from over 72,000 university students down to the national champions team from 34 countries. According to Enactors Country Director in Eswatini, Wonderboy Khumalo, each team present their project of entrepreneurial action that does not only difference in the world, but also have a momentum to create new careers, spark business innovation.
Ngishotsi lona lisaqhubeka lang 20 emave wona sasele pass solo bayaqhubeka bayakompita na lang 16 emave lasekhona nyalasele.
Khumalo, giving an update on the World Cup 2021, says that the local teams went through to the next round as they are among the 16 countries, out of which 4 best teams will be selected. And finally, the winner will be announced on the 21st of October 2021. These projects are expected to be in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Giani Msibi in Manzini.
The Royal Science and Technology Park has postponed the Investors and Innovators Awards that were supposed to be held this month to next year, January. This has been said by Senior Communications Officer at RSTP, Senzo Malaza.
Science and Technology Park, RSTP, was supposed to host Inventors and Innovators Awards. Senior Communications Officer at RSTP, Senzo Malaza, says the awards has since been postponed to next year, January, due to a number of reasons, one of them being the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Bese sidibana nato sisaqhubeka nalomsebenzi eMaswati ane kubhekana nabo COVID letinye tintfo tihamba kancane sibe esibuka ukuthi kuze sitoniketa wonke umuntu ithuba lelanele lekuba ingcenye yalomsebenzi asale siuchubela embili enyangeni yaJanuary eminyakeni lotako lo sekwenta ukuthi i-deadline yekufaka ama-applications sale kuba ngumhla ka-15 December kulomnyaka. So sikhutsata-ke ukuthi wonke lo tikhanza asesigabeni sekuthi uyasungula loko lakwendako noma ufaka leyo improvement langayifaka akabe ingcenye yalolu hlelo. Siyethemba ukuthi adulu kulolu hlelo sibukeke tinhlangothi letifaka ekhatsi bo fintech, sibuke tindzabata bo agriculture and food, engineering and manufacturing, sibuke indzabata ka ICT naletinye tinhlangothi bo green climate environment, green environment and climate. Siyathemba ukuthi ngileto tinhlangothi naletinye lesitawukhona ukuthi sikhange kuto emaswati langaba ngephansi kwa.
Malaza says interested inventors and innovators can download an application form at www.rstp.org.za and send it at incubation@itbi.org.za after they filled it. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekoza with Vuminko Sinzinisa Matapa.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Eswatini cricket national team has lost against Uganda in the T20 ICC Sub-Regional African qualifiers. Uganda beat Eswatini by 6 wickets with 47 balls remaining. This defeat is Eswatini's second in the qualifiers after losing against Malawi on Sunday. The game was played in the capital city of Rwanda, Kigali.
Eswatini cricket national team faced Uganda on day 3 of the T20 ICC Sub-Regional African qualifiers in the capital city of Rwanda in Kigali. Having lost their previous game against Malawi on Sunday, Eswatini was looking to beat Uganda and increase their chances of proceeding to the next stage. Eswatini top player Meris Magagula was looking to replay his performance against Lesotho when he got 3 wickets in 25 balls, but it was not enough to the victory against Uganda that got 76 runs with 4 wickets. Both Ghana and Uganda have now 8 points as they top Group A and are followed by Eswatini with 2 points, who face host nation Rwanda this coming Friday. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Rinda Lamine, picture sourced from ICC TV.
Chairman of the Premier League of Eswatini, Mark Carmichael, says the start might take longer than expected. Carmichael says there are still logistical issues they are addressing, and the current political climate in the kingdom makes things very difficult for them. Carmichael is, however, encouraging clubs to keep on preparing for the new season.
The Premier League of Eswatini has revealed that at the moment it is uncertain to reveal that the so much anticipated MTN Premier League 2021-2022 season will kick off this coming weekend. According to the chairman of the Premier League of Eswatini, encouraging clubs both in the Premier League and the National First Division to keep on with their preparations.
As I say, Fabrice, it's out of the hands of the Premier League. We can only encourage clubs, to remain focused as best they can under the circumstances that each club finds itself in. And as soon as, we are guided accordingly, then we will continue with our program. For us, it's just to try and encourage and get as many people as possible to be able to fight the deadly effects and scourge of COVID-19. And immediately on the ground, it seems the best option is to vaccinate.
Carmichael concluded wishing all the best to Royal Leopards FC that is representing the country in this year's CAF Champions League in their return match against Sagrada Esperança from Angola this coming weekend. Leopards was defeated in the first encounter by 3-1 in the first round in Angola last weekend. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbawane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a look at our top stories. The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says schools are currently closed in the country as announced by the Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini. Therefore, pupils are not expected to be in school on Wednesday. The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, says before the end of the week, they will announce the Reconstruction Fund guidelines and how business people and all those affected can have access to the fund. The IGCSE external exams are progressing well despite some interruptions. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team. Thank you for joining us. Good night.